Oh, this is probably going to be a long video.
Your turn, Yugi boy.
What is up, guys? This is Linthio coming at you with a discussion today about ARG, Alter Reality Games, over in the US of A. And today, when I'm recording this video, and it will come out a few days later, they announced that they're doing their own ban list. Now, first off, this struck me as very, very surprising because I don't get why they think they're so big that they can basically say fuck you to Konami and say we're going to take this game in the way that we want to and you don't have any say in it. So I have so many mixed emotions and so many concerns about this that I'm going to stage it in the way that I'm going to talk about the ban list first that they've put up, and then I'm going to talk about my concerns after it. So I've got it all on my phone because there's a lot to go over. So first off, the banned cards, they have Djinn Releaser of Rituals, Fusion Gate, Love Chain, Necros Atrishula, Royal Magical Library, and Vanity's Emptiness. Restricted to 1, they have Seer, El Shadow Construct, El Shadow Fusion, Bubbleman, Stratos, Instant Fusion Mistake, Unicorn, and Zen Mighty. To 2, they have Dante, Dragon's Ravine, Insecto Hornet, Rescue Rabbit, Summoner's Art, Torrential Tribute, Wind Up Magician, and then no longer restricted we have a Chaos Sorcerer, Dark Hole, Glow Up Bulb, and finally Sacred Swords of the Seven Stars. If we get over the whole bold statement of them doing a ban list for their events, we'll just look at the list at first. So we'll break it down. So they've actually given reasons as to why they have abandoned certain cards and hit certain cards on the list. Now this is obviously more than Konami do, because Konami basically give us a list and say, here you go, run with this list now for the next few formats. And while I always would like the idea that Konami would give us reasoning, I'm not entirely sure if that would ever happen. But ARG have given us reasoning because they're basically decided on this ban list with a committee of people. Now, I don't know who this committee is, and I've been told it's not players and such, it's all committee members of ARG, and that kind of makes me think, what makes you qualified to put these cards on certain areas of the Forbidden Unlimited list? In fact, I'm not going to call it Forbidden Unlimited list, I'm going to call it a ban list because it isn't official. So going on with, they've put a really weird, awkward way about it. They haven't done it in Ban Limited. They've gone out of sequence, so I'm going to just talk about it this way. So Djinn Releaser, this is kind of one that I would expect to be hit. I don't really have any problems with this. It's kind of just a little bit of a degenerate card, and it's not that great. But one interesting thing next up is Fusion Gate and Element Hero Bubbleman, saying that they've restricted it to 1, and they said basically that we want to bring Stratos back, so we need to nerf everything else. I don't know about you, and I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I said that Stratos had the possibility of coming back, and I said why it possibly could come back, but this list, these two hits, Fusion Gate and Bubbleman, is basically saying we want Stratos back regardless because we like the cards, so therefore we're going to ban these certain cards so it can come back. They're not thinking of how it's going to impact the game state, they're simply saying we want this card back because we like it, so we're going to ban and limit other things that will basically make it broken. I don't know if that's slightly a great mentality to have when looking at cards, because I feel that it's just a group of players saying, I like this card, I like this card, I like this card, I want it back. That's not what Konami do. If that's the mentality that ARG are going to have with these types of things, I'm not entirely going to enjoy the future of this, if there is going to be one at all. One other dumb thing that I saw when they were explaining it, they said one committee member wanted Bubbleman banned as well, and to put Stratos to 3. That person shouldn't be on the committee, in my opinion, because that's such a dumb thing to say. They said that they banned Fusion Gate because of the Blaze Phoenix OTK and such, which is fair enough, but when was the last time you saw Blaze Phoenix OTK ever around? It just seems like they're a little bit clasping at straws for that one. Lovable Chain banned. Almost every member wanted this card banned, and they said that it is included because of the degenerate FDKs like Blue-Blooded Oni and overpowered combo decks like Infernity and lock strategies with the Djinn. So one of those things that they said with the lock strategies Djinn, you've banned. So why is Lava Chain banned then if you've just taken out one of three things that it's most powerful for? I don't remember the last time I actually saw someone use Infernity and really abuse the deck. When Infernity got properly hit, with all its power cards going to 1, it dropped off the map. And now that some people were using heroes and that topped an event and other things like that topped an event, I don't see Infernity as a threat. And that's because it isn't a threat. So why cripple the deck even further? The blue-blooded Oni deck, I don't think anyone actually plays in tournaments anyway. And let's face it, it's like a 90 card move that you do with it. I don't know anyone that's going to have the stamina to do that for 10, 11 rounds or whatever if they get that far and keep pulling off that combo. And I'm pretty goddamn sure I can interrupt that combo as well as everyone else. So, don't really understand the logic behind that. I get why people want Lava Chain bans, but it's kind of irrelevant to me because I feel that if you really think it's a card that's a problem, put it to 1, because that solves every single problem that any of these decks have. Trishula being banned, in my opinion, Negro's Trishula was just one move that I really didn't understand at all. They go on to say that a one-member committee wrote that Trishula is the most powerful than any other card in the current legal, blah, 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 blah. If we outright ban it, the deck's still playable but not dominant. You're basically taking away the card's main boss monster. Now, Trishula is a once per turn effect, and the original Trishula was banned simply because it could be abused multiple times in a turn. Trishula of Necros is a simple once per turn effect. And while it does have a massive power play, it can be played around. You have to have certain restrictions. You have to have a card in your field, hand, and graveyard, and that can be played around. With Trishula, the original one, you didn't have to fulfill those requirements. So, Negro's Trishula being banned is dumb in my opinion. Going to 1 if you really think it's a threat is fine. I think Trishula may go to 1 in my opinion, but I just really don't get that. Royal Magical Library's fine. I made a discussion on that. I think that card should at least be limited, if not to bans. Seer and Dante kind of makes sense anyway, because I feel that that hit's going to come on the actual official list from Konami, simply because the loop between Seer and Dante is kind of endless pluses and kind of a big wall going up. So that's fair enough. That doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. Basically, the reasoning behind El Shaddai Fusion and Construct being hit is that because they're hitting Burning Abyss and also hitting Necros, they don't want Shadows to be big. Yeah, fair enough. That's the whole point of hitting cards on a list that have been around for a while. You want to make sure that you take away some of the power from them so they don't become the predominant deck for another couple of formats. So, kind of makes sense. Instant Fusion, simply because of Nodin. You can make your mind up on that one. Mistake getting hit to 1. Their reasoning is Mistake is a Floodgate card, and having 3 of a Floodgate card has not been a good thing. It completely shuts down decks from playing the game. That really sounds to me like I don't like Mistake because it hurts my deck. These types of Floodgate cards are in the game for a reason. When Necros are running around, and that's what really hurt the deck was Mistake, as you saw in the Euros final. Mistake really hurt the deck. If you're hitting Necros, why are you hitting Mistake? Mistake isn't one of the greatest cards around, and the reason why Mistake is so goddamn good is because it hurts Necros. You take Necros out of the equation, there aren't actually that many decks that get affected by it. Unicorn going to 1 is kind of one that I will foresee anyway, just because of the simple dumb plays and the advantage that you get with it being such a great card, and then with Kaleidoscope and a Herald of Arclight, you get many pluses off it, so I would expect that to be hit on the list anyway. Zen Mighty and Magician, simply because rotating old decks and old archetypes is a good thing in my opinion, makes sense. Dragon Ravine, Hornet, Rescue Rabbit, all make sense. Summoner's Art, they hit Quilloff, I'll get to that one in a sec. And Torrential Tribute all kind of makes sense. Torrential Tribute is one that I said could come back anyway. Unlimited cards, we have Chaos Sorcerer, Dark Hole, Glow Bulb, and Sacred Sword 7 stars. They kind of don't really make much difference. And throwing my phone away, the interesting things now that I'm going to get on. But before I do, an interesting thing is that they said they hit Quilloff by putting Summoner's Art to 2. That's not hitting the deck. Satellite Knights were completely untouched. Now, Satellarknights and Quilloff are still an incredibly powerful deck. You take out 3 of the top decks, Necros, Shadow, and Burning Abyss, and all you've done is basically pave the way for a Satellarknight and Quilloff format. That is simply what is going to happen. There is no question about it. And you must consider, why haven't they hit them in some way, shape or form? Satellarknights can be hit on multiple levels with a hit on an Altair, Deneb, or possibly even a Satellarnova Alpha hit. Those are the main cards that possibly should be hit. But if we think, one card that they use, and one card that Heroes also use now that they want to bring back Stratos, is Reinforcements of the Army. Why wasn't that hit? You hit the main searcher in Quilloff by hitting Summoner's Art to 2, but you leave Reinforcements of the Army at 3. What is up with that? So, kind of moving away from the list because some aspects of it really hurt my head. Like, seriously, they really hurt my head. If we look at ARG as a entity, now that's the only thing I'm going to call them because I don't know what to exactly call them. ARG, in my opinion, are a group of people, and the tournaments that they have are a group of people that, for the majority in the early days, were people who were banned from Konami. They couldn't go to the original sanctioned events, and they needed somewhere to basically go. Now, this is what it has turned into. ARG now have offered cash prizes in the past, and the original creator of the Yu-Gi-Oh game has expressed many a time that he doesn't like the idea of cash games. And while Konami have obviously kept with that, otherwise they would be directly conflicting with their own policies, ARG kind of snuffed at that and said that we will do cash games. Now, they've been doing that for a while, and I think Konami have just kind of ignored the fact that they're doing it, but I think that they're starting to overstep their mark and get a little bit big-headed. Now, you can call this an attack on ARG if you so wish. I'm just expressing my opinion on what I think of them as a company or entity, let's say. And I have such a bad taste in my mouth simply because this ban list, or this motion to move and make and create a ban list for their own events, leaves 2 major problems in my eyes. Firstly and foremost, ARG have a website. ARG have a secondary market. Now that they have a ban list in effect, only for their tournaments, they now have subsequent control over card prices. Not hitting Satellarknights and not hitting Quilloff means that if you go to those events, those card prices will rise because everyone wants them because they are simply the best deck. Now, ARG, I am sure, are going to be like, so, you're coming to our event. Just make sure you look on the website and you'll see some new priced cards that we have. Scout's probably going to go up in price. Disc's probably going to go up in price. Then we have the Deneb, the Satellarnova Alphas. This really stinks to me. I really don't like the fact that they are going to try and control the secondary market and hold it ransom, in my opinion, because that's essentially what they're going to do. They're going to fluctuate card prices out of this world. And if you think about it, they may, this is simply may, how they have hit Necros now. So they have hit the Jim Releaser, and they have hit Trishula. All these cards are obviously going to drop in price. Now, ARG being a vendor, they are more than likely going to buy cards from players because they don't want them anymore. What's to stop them in the next ban list, for example, moving Trishula back to 2, instantly making the deck, say, a better deck? Now that they have all this stock, lo and behold, the prices now go up. They are making profit off this ban list that they are creating. Now, that might be all he said, she said, and all just basically a fool's tale or a made-up thing, a delusional paranoia of some British YouTuber. But it's a possibility. And while I'm sure someone will turn around and say, hey, well, you know, you're just thinking far too much into it, they utmost have the interest of the players in hand, I find that very difficult. The difference between Konami and ARG is simply, Konami, while they put out the Forbidden Unlimited list, they are not a vendor. They do not buy cards and they do not sell singles. They sell the stock. There is no opportunity for them to capitalize on a certain card or deck going up in price. If you want to really go down to the brass tacks of it, sure, they have stock. They have items that will sell. But those items go to the vendors, and the vendors then sell it on behalf of Konami, taking a cut, so on and so forth. If we want a deck, if we want an archetype, we will buy the product from the vendors and possibly buy the single cards from the secondary market. With this, Konami don't really make any money from the secondary market. Now if we flip over to the ARG side of it, they have the potential to make a small gold mine of money simply because they are controlling the stock market. The second thing that leaves a bad taste in my mouth is for the American audience, the American player base, they are now putting a slash down the middle. They're putting a divide down the middle. Once Konami release the Forbidden Unlimited list, there will be obviously chase cards, there will be decks that will be hurt, and there will be decks that people would like to pick up. Now the problem is, if you want to play in ARG events, and if you want to play in official sanctioned Konami events, you have to make a decision. If, for example, I am playing Heroes in the ARG event, great, I can play it. I go over to the Konami event, lo and behold, I now cannot do this. Now, you might think this is such a small thing because multiple people have multiple different decks that they want to play, but not that many people that you might think have two main decks. Many people don't have the money, the resources, so on and so forth, to put in all this time and effort into two different decks. And I find that unfair because ARG are basically saying, choose us or choose them. And that is such a toxic thing to do, in my opinion. I really think that this is such a lowball thing for them to do. And I don't really understand why they want to really segregate themselves this much from Konami events. The whole thing is so backwards in my opinion. And I know that a lot of people are saying this is great because we have some control over the actual cards that are being hit and so on and so forth. And with the Konami list, we don't really have any form of control over it because it's just a company decision. Do you really think that ARG are actually going to listen? Do you really think, because ARG have brought Stratos back, that they're actually going to listen to what you want to do? This might just be a very clever smokescreen that they want to put up against you. And while if we think about it, Konami are a business and they have their own committees that have been playing this game for many a time. They've probably been there since the inception, you know, even since the Upper Deck days, shush shush. This committee from ARG, who are they? What do they do? What is their history? What is their interest in this game? Are they players? Are they vendors? Because it's just shocking, in my opinion, that people want to think that they want to be able to say, hey, you know what? We're going to make our own list, our own tournaments, and we're just going to screw the rules because they want money. And it's really interesting that on the website they said that they've given out, or they're going to be giving out 40 grand's worth of prizes and such. That doesn't make any difference. It feels to me that the way that this article was written, that they are trying to throw the positives at you and make you think there are no negatives to this whatsoever. But there are so many negatives that in my head it's just kind of mind-blowing that people aren't realizing them. Now this video is very long, and I appreciate that some people might completely disagree with me and hit that dislike straight away. Jim might be one of them, who is the head of ARG, or whatever he does. And I completely respect that, and that's fine. If you like the idea of that and you want to join in with that, then fair enough. That is nothing to do with me. But I feel that it's going to escalate further and further, and it's going to get to the point where ARG are going to turn around and say you need to choose. And I don't like that idea. Now, an interesting thing is I posted up on Facebook saying that just in my reaction to the whole news about it and how it was going to be very interesting to see how they would deal with policies, so on and so forth. Someone posted saying, like ARG have ever respected Konami policies. Now, Jim, who is actively at the head of ARG or something like that, he's very, very high up and senior, he said, I think you've got that wrong. I don't think Konami have ever respected anyone. Who are you to say that a company who have kept this game going for 15 plus years don't respect anyone. I think it just shows how big-headed they are and how big they feel that they are. They don't put on events like Konami do. They aren't even worldwide. And there's always been talk about how they want to go bigger and they want to go over to different countries and such, but that's not going to happen. Like, if it does, then fair enough, but I don't understand how you're going to be able to function like Konami do with these multiple events all around the world every single year. You're not going to be able to do it. For him to come out and say something like that is like someone high up in Konami coming out and attacking someone else. And it's just not professional. ARG, I don't see ARG as an official tournament. I don't want to go into so much of a slagging match because this is all just my opinion. And if ARG were over here, if they were doing events in the UK, I don't think I would actually really go to them because I'm just not interested in what they're doing. And while you might say, well, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh event, how can you not be interested in it? It's kind of the way that they go about their business. It's kind of the way they do things. It just doesn't sit right with me. Now, this is a long video, as I said, and I'm impressed if you got to this, so thank you very much for sticking around. I appreciate it. But it just left such a weird taste in my mouth that they are doing this and they're moving to try and basically split the community and, in my opinion, trying to profit with their secondary market that they now control. And let's face it, they've tried to control it in the past with certain card choices and certain articles and so on and so forth. It's not beyond them and not out of their capable range to do something like this, and this is kind of evidence that they're doing it now. So this is a lot to take in. And I've tried to speak about as much as I can as possible. And the last thing that I do want to say is, how is this going to affect, with their tournaments, the policies versus Konami? Konami have certain policies in effect. They have a certain limited list on players that is in effect. They have a ban list that is in effect, and they have a prize support policy that is in effect. They are covered by policies which, if anyone has been to a tournament and if anyone is somewhat involved in Konami, like a judging program and so on and so forth, they will understand the amount of policies that they have in place, and it makes the events very smooth because everyone understands what's right, everyone understands what's wrong, and it's a very smooth and professional event. With ARG, I do not know any policies that they have that really stand up to something how Konami run their events. I feel that it's just kind of a large locals that's put on with big prizes, and that's kind of all I see it. If ARG are really going to overstep the mark like they are starting to now with this own ban list for their own events, I kind of worry at what they're going to do next. And if we remember back in the day, if you do remember these, the Upper Deck days with Upper Deck versus Konami, while it's not on the same level with the fact that Upper Deck were a kind of distributor and tournament organizer and so on and so forth, and they were affiliated with Konami in some way, shape or form, ARG are not affiliated with Konami in any way, shape or form. It's just gonna make me think that there is gonna be some form of event that happens. There's gonna be something that happens that completely shatters that possible relationship, if there is a relationship at all, but it's just going to mean that I don't really foresee this being good for the American people over there. I really don't see it as being a good move, and overall I think it's just hurting the possibility of what we have now. What we have now with tournaments and regionals and everything like that is good. And I think it's good simply because it works well. We have these big events. We have these big occasions in which that we can all gather under one roof and have a good time. America have all of these voice actors that come along to these big events, you know, give back to the community. Europe don't have that. And while I am very disappointed at the fact that we can't have that simply because of costing, of licensing, so on and so forth, I accept that and that's fine. But the fact that Konami have these things available to people, it's great. If I really wanted to do it, I would go to an American event. If I really wanted to go see someone like that, I would do it, and it's not out of the realms of possibility. But I really do fear that something is going to crack, and someone is going to say something, and they are going to do something that will put a stop in Konami's mind saying, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in the near future. So I want to know what you guys think of this sensitive topic. I realize this is probably going to get spammed by dislikes simply because the majority of my subscriber base is in America. I think it's more like a 60% over there, so hi guys over there. I realize you're watching this when I'm probably asleep. That's fine, I don't mind if you dislike it. You are welcome to share your opinion, and I'd really love to know everyone's opinions down in the comment section below, because I feel that this could be a really interesting topical discussion, and that is what I promote on my channel, topical discussion. And please try to not abuse people, because this one is going to be tense, and this one is going to be full of vinegar in my opinion. So as I said, down in the comment section below, let's see what we can get out of this. What is your opinion on ARG posting up their own ban list for their own events and basically saying fuck you to Konami? So that is it, guys. Hope you did enjoy the video. I realise it's a bit of a longer one, but nevertheless, a lot had to be talked about. I was thinking about this a lot all day. So as I said, let me know down in the comment section below. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, and I should catch you guys later.